which is our end of March Campus Answer Hour. And so we're going to start off today with what our agenda is. We're going to be talking about the releases that went out last night that should be in effect today, including saving R-form drafts, clamshell R2s, adjuster phone numbers, multiple R2 filings, campus inactivity timer, and then of course we'll do some campus frequently asked questions and answers at the end here. So the first part here that we have is that there's been the thing about saving our R forms as drafts. And we had a number of people, QRCs, administrative staff, that were dutifully about going ahead, creating the R form in Campus, saving it as a draft so that it could be circulated to the parties for their review and signature. Unfortunately, our clock wasn't in sync with what the rules were. As you all know, we have 15 days to go ahead and send it to the employee for the review, signature, and return, and then it gets sent off to the insurer for the review, signature, and return, which of course is 30 days. Unfortunately, our timer was set for 21 days. So people coming back to upload their signed R forms into the campus document couldn't find the campus document. So since then, we've now increased that retention period up to 45 days. So they should give plenty of time to go ahead, get the form circulated and filed with the department on a timely basis. The next thing we have is that we've had problems, of course, if a first report of injury hasn't been filed with the department, which of course creates a claim for the rehabilitation file to get linked to. And due to this, Campus would not permit the filing of a subsequent R2 form after the rehab consultation report form was completed. This has now been solved to a point. So now QRCs can go ahead, they can file their RCR form, and right after that they can go ahead, create an R2 in that same shell and get that out and get it circulated to the parties. So you're not having to go to the process of creating one on paper, circulating that, and then having to recreate it in Campus. So hopefully it'll cut down on some of the labor on your part. Along with that, of course, we still need to go ahead and follow up with the insurers to make sure they file the first reports of injury so that there is a claim to link that to. The next part was when Campus was developed, there was this truism out there that claims adjusters frequently leave their jobs and or they're assigned to other accounts. And so Campus was designed so that you always needed to fill in the adjuster's name and their phone numbers. This was set up so it'd be more convenient for you, so you wouldn't have to keep erasing it and putting in new information. However, what we decided here is that maybe adjusters don't change that frequently. So what will happen is as you go from form to form, the phone number that you put in the last R form will stay in as you go in to the next R form, and it'll pre-populate for you. So hopefully make things a little bit easier. Also, the next part of our rollout that has gone into effect for today is that we had QRCs that were finding people to be eligible for rehabilitation services, and they would complete an R2 rehabilitation plan. Now, what should happen in Campus is that that button then goes dormant and you can't submit another R2. Well, in some instances, that just did not work out that way. Well, we've gone back into the system to make sure that once the R2 is submitted that first time, that the R2 modal button will go dormant and multiple R2s can't be submitted. It's a little nuance, but it's important for us on our end. Also, one of the things is as you folks have certainly gotten more familiar with the filing of R forms in Campus, it's a pretty straightforward process, especially now that we've worked out most of the bugs. However, one of the things that when we were listening to your feedback is that, hey, your program times out after 15 minutes. And if I'm doing something else, whether it's on the telephone, I have to do email, send out a final report. By the time I get back to the campus program, it's timed out. And then I have to go through the task of going ahead, starting all over again, enter in my email and my password just to get back in, look up the file, etc. Well, we understood this it was a very legitimate complaint. And, of course, hey, about 85% are at least home offices. So your information is secure anyways. And in most cases, when the campus program was timing out, you were at your desk anyways. In fact, it was happening to us internally where we'd be sitting and doing something else. And of course, the program would time out. So now the inactivity timer has been increased from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So plenty of time to get those other tasks out of the way, even going ahead and getting yourself a cup of coffee if you need that, just to go ahead and enjoy the rest of the day. So a good rollout, and again, based on your feedback, we listen to you. So we've had some questions that have been coming in. And the first one, of course, was still some confusion about filing of the R3 and R8 form to withdraw and send files over to the department's Vocational Rehabilitation Unit, or VRU, which of course is our QRC form. Now, the thing that you need to understand is that if there is a denial of liability or a further denial of liability from the insurer, and you're not going to go ahead and continue handling the case, one of the first things we need to figure out is the employee going to go ahead and dispute the insurer's finding? And typically when that happens, they'll retain an attorney, a claim petition will be filed, and so litigation is in process. And when that happens, and we want to make sure that the employees continue to receive services, a lot of times the file is just sent over to the VRU unit. Now, if the litigation is in process, this is a great time to go ahead and use the R3. And when you fill out the R3 withdrawal, what will happen with that, of course, is you're going to be circulating that R3 form to the parties, etc., and attaching your cost date up to date and monthly report about what happened here. But the other thing is that campus is set up so that withdrawal of services automatically goes over to the VRU unit. You may recall in the past you had to send a separate R3 with a cost breakdown sheet and then a copy of the rehabilitation file. Well, at least this part of the process gets done electronically, and more expeditiously as far as the employee being able to be served. So this is when you would be using the R3 withdrawal to the VRU. Now, of course, the next part is well, what is the R8 withdrawal for? That's when the employee is not sure if they're going to pursue litigation to dispute with the insurer's, denial for the denial of liability. And either they agree with the insurer or they can't make a decision at this point. And it's a point where you say, okay, well, I've given the employee time enough to be making this decision. I'm going to go ahead and close the file and, of course, attach the summary report about what has happened. And I'm going to file an R8 withdrawal based on the further denial or denial of liability. Now, the one thing that you need to understand about the R8, whereas the R3 automatically went to the VRU unit, the R8 doesn't. And so what you'll need to do is, like in the old days, go ahead, flip that into the mail and send that to the VRU so they're aware about this situation. And what they do is they keep that R8 for a period of time and are looking to see if some litigation gets started up, where then if they need to, they can go ahead and jump in and start providing that employee services while the claim is being disputed. So that's the difference of when you're using the R3, when there's an active litigation, and an R8 when there's no litigation. Mike, here, is there anything that I missed on that?
Sounded great, Mike. Nope, that was good.
Okay. Um, Another question that we've had is, hey, I need to review my QRC's registration. However, when I go there, it appears that the only thing you can do is do an initial firm registration. I have to laugh about this because I wrote up these instructions and then I was working with a QRC yesterday and I kind of forgot that there was a little step-by-step process. I couldn't get past that initial, you go up to your top blue bar of your campus and you would select, and there would say rehab provider registration. You click on that, and sure enough, all it would do is go ahead and say initial firm registration. Well, actually what you need to do is you'll end up going up to the top blue bar. On the far right hand side, there's that little bell that's in the corner, and just beyond that is generally going to be your name there. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and click on that, which is going to bring up uh, the 3 points, and one of the points is my groups. So you select my groups. From there, then what you're going to go is go off to the far left of the side of the page. You're going to find your name and you're going to click on that. Then what they're going to have you do is again go back to the right, left right kind of stuff, and they're going to have you go find the kebab, which is about in this area here and about in the middle, and click on that. And as you may recall, the kebab is 3 dots. It's going to be on top of each other, so from top towards the bottom. And they call it a kebab because it looks like a shish kebab. Just found that out the other day. Then go ahead. You're going to submit registration, and then you'll go back to the far left side of the page. And then under the registration type, you should see renewal of registration. And then what you'll do, of course, is proceed to answer all the questions that it's asking about your firm name and the current information. And then you'll hit submit. That will go into the department. Joanne Jacobson, our rehab registration specialist, will review it. And then she's going to be waiting. What is she waiting for? Well, she's waiting for you to go ahead and mail in your check for the money amount. I believe it's $200 for a QRC firm and a vendor firm, as I think about that. To go to our financial services unit here at the department. And then, when you send that check, put what that is for. So put a little note on there that says, hey, this check is for my QRC firm registration. This is the QRC firm's name. Please notify Joanne Jacobson. And that way we'll make sure that the financial services unit is talking to Joanne, so that as soon as she gets notice that the check is cleared, that she can go ahead and hit the approval and you're good to go. Next question is, I've sent messages to the department's help desk and to CRT staff when I have campus or other questions. What client information should I provide to enhance resolving the issue? Well, one of the things that you folks need to know is there's at least about 6,000 open rehab files at any one time. And so when we get help desk tickets that say, I'm having problems with being able to submit an R3 form. Okay, out of 6,000 clients, who could that be? Help us out. One of the things that we want to do is be able to hit the ground running so that when we're contacting you, we're going to have an idea of who that claim is about so that we are seeing what you're seeing. And if we need to make adjustments in the campus program that permits you to link the file, then we can do that. So one of the things we'd like you to do is go ahead, if you have the information, go ahead and send us the employee's WID number, which often looks like this, like an E-01, and then, 4 more letters, and then after that, 4 more numbers after that. The date of injury. I can't tell you how important the date of injury is. If you have somebody by the name of Johnson, well, we've got a ton of Johnsons, and we have a ton of Johnsons, different dates of injury. So let us know the date of injury so that we're making sure that we're looking at the claim that we should be looking at. Was it a 2020 claim? Was it a 2019 claim? Give us the exact date so that we can work off of that. And then, of course, give us the employee's first and last name. If you have gone ahead and already filed a consultation, you should be having a RT number That's really helpful for us to be able to pick that up, especially if we're needing to link a claim with your rehabilitation file. If the insurer has actually done their job and filed a first report of injury, they should be able to tell you, generally they'll call it the JCN number, which is either the CL number here, or the JCN is often doesn't have the CL number here, but it has these digits here. So you got your 9 digits. So that helps us to be able to link those things up. And that's kind of where we're at. And of course, whenever there's questions and stuff, or you want to know what the latest updates is, what we certainly do is encourage you to go ahead, go to the central campus page, in which we're talking about what things have been fixed to hopefully make your lives a lot easier, make the process better. The other thing I would certainly remind you again is if you have feedback about how campus can be improved, go ahead and send a email to the help desk ticket. In your subject line, set it up as feedback, and then in the body, talk about what it is that you would like to see happen, so that we can be looking at that for future improvements. Our goal here is to make this work as good for you, so that you're able to go ahead, do your job, serve the clients, get them back to work, and make the process work as it should. And that's kind of what I have here until I got it at the end, which is questions. Is there any questions that you folks have that I can help answer?
Mike, there's one question in the chat.
Okay.
It's back to when you were talking about the R2 submission. The clarification, could you explain what an R2 modal button is?
Yeah, certainly. So when you went into the RT file, then what happened is you had, when you went to R forms that was in the right corner, and that was a gray button, you clicked onto that, and it lets you know that you'd already submitted the RCR form, and then underneath of that, you had a listing. So you had R2, R3, PPR, R8, etc. Well, the thing that you notice is that when you after the RCR, then you hit the R2, and then you would say submit, next, and then you go ahead and complete the R2 form. Well, once you've got that R2 completed and filed with the department, you can't go back and create a new R2 form, because that area, which is that R2 number, is actually what they call a modal button. Is going to gray out, and it won't be able to use that anymore. Of course, then the next forms that you'll be able to use will be the R3. Other questions?
Mike, you don't have any other questions in the chat, but I don't know if you're trying to show that on the screen or not, or if that would be helpful so people could see what it actually looks like instead of the slide.
I don't have something that I can pull up at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, I guess if we're done early, then we're done early. Just to let you folks know, this is our last answer hour for this quarter. And at this point, we'll be determining whether, future answer hours are going to be needed. I noticed that, the amount of folks that have been participating has been diminishing over time, which is good because it shows us that everybody's catching on. So we'll figure that out and go from there. However, always know that the campus newsletter will be continuing to go out with any new improvements, and of course any kinds of frequently asked questions and answers for you to review. And on that note, if there's no further questions, I guess we are done. All right, thank you everyone.